The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Hi, Dr. Rudy Kachmann. Welcome to the Diabetes Show. What I am here for today really is wonderful news. The news is that you can prevent, stop, reverse type 2 diabetes 80-90% of the time in about 3 to 6 weeks. Yes, that is a message which we're not hearing from the government, the hospitals, or even us doctors, the providers. It's this pill to the ill. What's even more encouraging to me is that if we tested people properly with serum insulins, we could catch them on the road to diabetes 10 to 20 years before their time. Mm-hmm. Why am I so confident in saying that? Well, Dr. Joseph Kraft, hold the book up for you, published this book 2006. The information in there really goes back to scientific papers, yes, in the 1990s, 1980s. Well, yes, they're all references are all in here. A doctor could read this in one night, and I think most laymen could read it in 2 or 3 nights. It's thin, and let me read the name of it: The Diabetes Epidemic and You. Should everyone be tested? Absolutely not. Only those concerned about their future. You want to live to be 100 in good health, look good, feel good, don't have that 20, 30 years of disease, bedridden, nursing home, amputations, dislocations, kidney disease, heart disease, 80% of dementia is from diabetes, liver transplant, heart transplants, even now, kidney transplants, and that's the worst, the one that really I've studied a great deal the last few months because I have a patient which advanced kidney disease. I got rid of her diabetes in 6 weeks, 2.5 years ago. She was end-stage renal disease, stage 5. She didn't want to be dialyzed to have new kidneys. So Pam comes to see me every 2 weeks, and I've taught her a different way of eating and a glomerular filtration rate, which was 5, now is 17. One case doesn't prove anything, but she has a smile on her face, wears beautiful clothes, and I also noticed, and I thought I was traveling on this path by myself, but I just finished reading the 3 books of Stephen Gundry, Gundry. I've got to think that he's one of the scientifically most informed people in the world. Yeah, and I'll tell you why. He was at Loma Linda, worked there 15 years, and did heart transplants on little babies, adults, Yes, all kind of cardiac bypass surgeries. He lived among the Seventh-day Adventists who eat a little differently. And after doing all that surgery, all those, I think it was 15 years, he decided that most of these surgeries were not necessary, and that instead, if he would teach people how to eat right, exercise right, the surgeries wouldn't be needed, the majority of them. So he opened up his institute in California, and he's been at it for years now. Started writing books, and I read them. And he has on chapter 260 on his Plant Paradox book, page 258 or so, he starts talking about kidney disease, and he's writing like getting rid of kidney disease isn't that big a deal. I thought I was the only one. He has a lot more experience with than I do, many more patients, and he's found through proper lifestyle most diseases of diabetes are preventable, reversible. He also emphasizes a bit lectins and glutens and things like that, which is not in many other books. I've been at this for many years. I like somebody else confirming my opinion. I don't, in the end, know what's 100% the truth, but I like people coming along and say, well, this doesn't disprove it. He, matter of fact, expands my knowledge tremendously. Let me tell you about another book. I mean, to me, I've been at this 20 years, but to the point that, I kind of got a little more pushy about it, so I wrote a book called Rudy's War on Diabetes. I've declared war on it. We're allowing people to have diabetes, and we operate on them and on the kidneys, on the hearts, and we amputate them and give them pills and injections and speak very little about prevention. That's true. It's all over the world, not just here. It's all over the world. And I feel that somebody needs to step up to the plate and do something about it. It probably will take litigation. I was reading a newspaper article the other day where a doctor had just recently died in his 90s, and he was the one that pointed out that DDT, pesticide, was killing a lot of people. And he did it through lawsuits, and DDT was outlawed in New York State completely. Other states, some variances, but he did it. So I wrote, I'm trying to reach the Attorney General state of Michigan, because they put an article in the paper, I read it in Fort Wayne, where they want to sue a pharmaceutical company because they charge so much for insulin. I mean, $100 per dose, give me a break. But to me, that looks like an opportunity to look at it bigger than that. A book was written, Goodbye Pills and Needles, by A Total Rethink of Type 2 Diabetes, and 90-Day Cure by Tom Jelinek. Let's look at this book. The Attorney General of Michigan, they're not responding to my phone calls. It's one number to the next number to the next number, never an appointment. I like to go down there with these books, and she can make up her own mind. But again, like I said, and there's a very nice chapter in here which proves that insulin, for which they're charging too much, pushes sugar, is elevated, that's why you're taking it, into the cell. But now the cell has the sugar. It also turns off production of sugar, gluconeogenesis in the liver. So if your sugar dove way down because the insulin dose was too high, the liver can't respond by secreting more sugar and save your life. So in that sense, it's dangerous. And you notice if you inject insulin in your body, a little lump develops. Well, that's because the sugar is filling the cells, but the sugar's still in your body. It hasn't left your body. So, and over time, you need to increase your insulin because your body is getting bigger because the sugar's in your cells. Your habits have not changed. And you notice most diabetics are way overweight. Certain ethnic and racial groups, 90% of them are overweight. Very few know they have diabetes because the wrong tests have been run. If you would run serum insulins, that would be elevated 10, 20 years before we have the obvious diseases from diabetes. And this is all in these books. And Dr. Jason Fung, a book I think I've here, he's from Canada. You know, he used to be a specialist of renal disease, and he decided one day all the patients that he was seeing were diabetic. So he studied it a little further, extensively. He's written many books now, many books, wonderful books, even about Alzheimer's disease and renal disease. I encourage you to read his books. This one is called The Diabetes Code: Prevent and Reverse Type 2 Diabetes Naturally by eating right. Yeah. He is, you can go on YouTube. He has a new show, I think, every week. I highly encourage you to watch this. What I like about it is really confirming what I'm writing about, Rudy's War on Diabetes, okay? So I like other people writing, then I know that I'm right. And what he's really saying is it's a way of eating, the type of food that we're eating. And that is the answer. It's not just taking insulin and injecting ourselves, and the cell gets fat, and we get fat, and a few months down the line, we have to take more insulin. Type 2 diabetes, which is where the cell is getting bigger, causing a great deal of disease, renal disease, most kidney disease. And this is the one that bothers me a great deal. Kidney disease is stages 1 through 5. The first 3 stages, people have no symptoms, but they don't really check for it by running tests on it, because if they taught prevention at stage 1, 2, or 3, you can get rid of type 2 diabetes in about a month or less. Quickly. It's all in this excellent book of Dr. Kraft's, and people wouldn't get all these diseases. Yes, heart disease, lung disease, increased rates of cancer, amputations, dislocations are avoidable. But yet, hardly anybody is stepping up to bat besides these authors, and there's some others also. And he has another book I really like a lot because it has recipes in it, and I have many others. My basement's got 50 books on diabetes. Yes, I know a lot about it. And so you want to discuss it with me, be glad to. But I like this book here, Simply Keto by Susan Ryan. Susan Ryan. And here we go. She used to weigh 120 pounds more than she weighs now. She put this book together which has in it beautiful recipes. Beautiful. I mean, you can go to anything in there, broccoli, cheddar soup, but she has about 30 pages of explanation in there, so you understand what diabetes and its diseases are all about. Recipes and for example, the thing that I like to do, which she did not bring up, which is not necessary, is and she has a food pyramid in there, which is eating good fats, 50-60% of your diet, guacamole and nuts and things of that nature, because fat does not increase the insulin level. Mm-hmm. And you will lose weight quickly. She lost 120 pounds. Mm-hmm. But I would say 20% of the people of normal weight still have diabetes. So it's important to get not just the blood sugar glucose tolerance test, to get a serum insulin. Insulin is elevated 10 to 20 years before you get diabetes. Then you could act on it, exercise a little more, change the way you eat a little bit more, pick different types of foods, and you never get diabetes. So I think, but if you have it, or you think you may have it, be sure to check your blood sugar, glucose tolerance test, serum insulin tolerance test. Then you will know, I'm not diabetic, that's fine. But it's important because 40, 50 diseases attached to diabetes. Amputations, dislocations, renal disease, dementia, strokes, heart attacks. I mean, I can name you 30, 40 different diseases, all can be avoided. Not difficult. I never said diet. A good way to eat, really, if you want to make it simple, is to eat 2 meals a day. Why 2 meals a day, Rudy? Well, that's what I do. I don't have diabetes, but I sort of, I think, did it accidentally. If you, and then do it 16-8. 16 hours you don't eat, 8 hours, 8. It could even be one bad meal, one good meal, and probably you won't have diabetes, okay? Because in that 16-hour period, you could call that intermittent fasting, 16-8. You could call that intermittent fasting if you want. I don't get hungry in that time because if you wake up in the morning, okay, your sugar went down a bit during the night because you weren't eating. But adrenaline from the adrenal gland, stress of the day, will increase sugar a little bit. Glucagon from the pancreas, opposite of insulin, raises the blood sugar a little bit. Growth hormone from the pituitary is secreted. So your blood sugar actually is increasing and you're not hungry. I'm not hungry in the morning. Have a cup of coffee and tea, that's fine. And I don't eat till 10 or 12 or so. And then cup of eggs, for example, maybe even a small piece of meat, or a piece of meat doesn't even have to be small. I try to eat something that's not sugary, but that's not critical. Certainly not a donut, okay? And then 8 hours later, don't have to be exact, okay? Approximate. I then have a dinner with can be some piece of fish, for example, or a piece of chicken, a piece of turkey, along with some vegetables, and try to make them gluten-free because some of us react to gluten. And you'll have a normal weight quickly. Your diabetes will just go away, type 2, quickly. And food can be addictive. So if you're cutting out the sugary foods, your sugar addiction will be over in generally about 3-4 weeks. If there were a donut laying there, I probably wouldn't touch it in the daytime. Late at night after a stressful day, I might touch it, but I weigh 135 pounds, okay, at age 39 for the 46th time. Okay, and so generally eat healthy, but I didn't always. My dad had a deli in New York City. Believe me, I ate bad food for a long time, and a lot of people are reactive to milk, and you read about that now and then. It's the casein, the protein in milk, and many of us don't have the enzyme to break up the lactose, the milk sugar. Asians don't have it at all. They don't drink human milk. And blacks, maybe only 25% have the enzyme. And white people, maybe 50% have the enzyme. Usually the enzyme goes away at about age 4 or so. Nature arranged it as such because we wouldn't be drinking mother's milk anymore. So the healthiest thing, incidentally, is to drink mother's milk because it has the omega-3 fats. Interestingly enough, when we are born, half the kids anymore are born through C-section. But if they were born by C-section, they didn't pass through the vagina or the mother, and their faces were not painted with the bacteria, the lactobacillus, which helps you digest milk. So the kids who have been on C-section, they don't have the proper bacteria in their gut. And they can have eczema and allergies and higher rate of type 1 diabetes. Yeah, most mothers don't, and it's not explained to them before they have a C-section. So what am I saying here today? What I'm saying is probably 40-50% of people have diabetes, and they know it. If you're overweight, odds are you're diabetic. And if they say, oh, my test was normal, they probably didn't get a serum insulin and find out the insulin level is elevated and you're on the path to diabetes. You already get diabetes. Eat right and it'll go away quickly. So I encourage you to do some insulin testing, keep track of your weight, and gain some knowledge. Maybe look at YouTube, Rudy Kachmann, Diabetes, where I explain this in more detail. I have half-hour shows, 1-hour shows. Why am I doing this? Well, because I think 70% of the diseases we're treating are preventable. You go by the hospitals and they got hearts on the building, you notice that? Well, in reality, that could have been prevented 90% of the time. What they should be having on the outside of the hospital is some vegetables or exercise thing or proper food. So I'm recommending, frankly, good fats, not 80% vegetables, because a lot of vegetables have in them glutens and lectins and some sugars. And some people teach that way. There's some famous books out there, Eat to Live and stuff. And I think a lot of people would get better doing that way. But if you want to get better yet, to eat good fats is much quicker, much healthier. And to eat about 20% protein. If you're, a lot of people, oh, protein diet, I'll be healthy. In reality, our body needs only a certain amount of protein, amino acids, proteins, okay? we recycle 80% of the proteins every day. Like if we do muscle activity or walking, those proteins, they're broken down by the liver and kidneys, and they're recycled. We use them again. We only use 20% of the proteins we take in. But if a body has extra proteins, more, we're eating a high protein diet, for example, that extra protein will be converted to sugar. Yes, yes. So a lot of these big time bodybuilders who are taking protein supplements and eating meat 7 days a week, they're diabetic. Many wouldn't admit to it, but they have not been properly tested. If we tested them properly, we would find out that indeed they're pre-diabetic. Diabetics encourage any weightlifters, big-time athletes, find out what your glucose tolerance is, what your insulin tolerance test is, and you will know whether you're diabetic or not. Type 2 diabetes has been increasing in children, yes. I noticed, I went to one of the pediatricians in town, well-known guy, that I wanted to encourage him to start testing children for diabetes at a very young age 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are already diabetic. The highest rate of increase in obesity has been age 2 to 6. They should be properly tested. They test them generally around age 10. Get an HbA1c. That's where sugar hits the hemoglobin molecule, and we can check that and see. But that's 3 months worth of sugar. But if we ran serum insulins, we would catch people on the way to diabetes, and you say lose 3 pounds of weight, and they would never get type 2 diabetes. Type 1, you know, is the one where the pancreas dies, and they absolutely need to take insulin or they wouldn't live, okay? And they call that autoimmune disease, but I tell you, in reality, there are causes for some of that. One is eating gluten sensitivity, and would be one reason. Other reasons are that the mother was way overweight and was a diabetic, and that changes genetics of the child. So that can do it too. So in summary, I'd like to help me with this war on diabetes by getting your blood work done, maybe reading some of these books. And the one especially I think it would be good to read would be Dr. Kraft's book, so you fully understand. It's beautifully scientific, tremendous book to read. And if you say way overweight and you have diabetes, read Susan Ryan's book, because she got wonderful recipes. The foods are delicious. It tells you the number of calories and carbohydrates and proteins and fats, and it's marvelous. You probably won't have diabetes in 3-4 weeks. And if you're an advanced diabetic right now, say with renal disease, that's the book you eat out of the rest of your life. You'll probably live to be 100 and play pickleball with me or take a tap dance lesson. Look at some of our other DVDs. If you need to be seen personally, stop over at the Divine Cafe at 11:30 or noon on Fridays. I'm there almost every time. I'll even buy you breakfast or lunch and discuss your problem and charge you nothing. Thanks for watching the show. I do the show because I'm a doctor and I care about you. Namaste.